Hi everyone, Coach Sullivan again here with MJS Coaching Football. To my subscribers, I thank you. Non-subscribers, I'm hoping to tease you into pushing that button. This past fall, I completed my 38th year coaching football and as a defensive coordinator. But over that time, I've also been an offensive coordinator, special teams coordinator, longtime head coach, and all of this both the collegiate and high school levels. In this presentation, I want to talk about one of our prisoner games that we call Vice. Okay, and it's a little bit different. It's a situational prisoner game, so non-subscribers, here's a freebie. It's a prisoner game because the 4 defenders involved in our prisoner game package are involved in this. Okay, no penetrators or loopers, as you'll see, but nonetheless, since there are our same 4, right, 3D line and that one outside linebacker we call a rover who's a part of these fronts, okay, that's why it's called a prisoner game. Okay. So over here are the key terms so you can understand how it is we teach and execute the Vice, the assignments, how we determine a Lucky Ringo call. Excuse me. Then over here, I have up top our base odd front that everything stems from. Then the rover's a part of that front. And down here, one of our even fronts. Okay. And yes, the guard is in red on both. That'll be incorporated. Okay. So the first term is Vice itself. It's a prisoner game, and like I said, there are no penetrators and no loopers. Okay, and it's a prisoner game because 4 defenders are still rushing the passer, and we're not blitzing a second or a third level defender. So the Lucky Ringo, nice and easy, it's to the rover. And there's a reason why there's a Lucky Ringo to the rover. Okay? So as I've said a zillion times, if the rover doesn't know who he is, we got huge trouble because everybody has a different name. And so we let the rover make that Lucky Ringo call. Okay? And so part of why we do that is going to be coming up very shortly. So when it comes to how this is executed, the D-line and the rover, so all 4 guys involved, they stab their gaps. We call this in a passing situation. Okay, so they are getting up the field, attacking the guys in pass protection. Here's why we need the Lucky Ringo. The defensive end to the call. So anytime it's Ringo non-subscribers, it's stud, so you're going to have to push the button. Okay, so the stud in this case now reads the offensive guard. He's still stabbing his gap. And there's a butt side rule, and it's very simple. You stab B gap. Unless. And so I'll show that to you when we get to the diagram. And that's why we need a Lucky Ringo. The nose stabs A gap away from the call, and the other defensive end is stabbing outside. Right? He's got outside cage, which we'll see in a second. So the key also to Vice is this, cage. You've got to make sure you have cage at the quarterback's level, the plane of the quarterback. You can't go past them, and you don't want to stop short. Okay, so this is a situation where there's a quarterback, he gets itchy feet, he likes to move around, and or he's a runner. Okay, and again, you can call this at any point in the football game. It's not just a 2-minute deal. So hence the last term, why Vice? Well, it can be used at any time in the game. It's situation warranted. You're watching tape. You say, wow, this kid can run. He can throw in the run. Well, then Vice should be in your game plan. I mean, it should always be in your game plan, in my opinion. But maybe it's a bigger part of your game plan. Okay, and it's an easy thing to coach up in drills during the week. But this is one of the reasons why Vice. The other, when you're expecting draw, whether it's sprint draw, whether it's sprint out, it's a different way to contain sprint out, right? Whether it's a screen, when you get the defensive end up in that outside cage, trying to get the level of the quarterback, and he's trying to throw a perimeter screen, it kind of screws things up. You got somebody in the window, right? All the different scenarios. This is why we would use Vice, and we have Vice in every one of our game plans. So now over here, okay, I'm going to show you how this works, okay? And I'm going to start on the side of the Lucky Ringo. So it's Ringo, it's going to be on the right. So the rover upfield, and to signify he's got vice cage, to over coach it, we turn inside like that in our playbook. In a huddle playbook, hard copy playbook, okay? It's what we do. I have it with me just to show you, right? We have a hard copy playbook. Now, let's get to the defensive end to the call, right? Butt side rule. He's stabbing the gap. All four of them are stabbing the gap. So on the snap of the football, that's where he is. And he'll stay there if the guard is like double reading, looking here first, right? He will stay there because he should be gone. But if the guard is turned out looking him, trying to block him, he will work into A gap. That's the B gap unless. So we usually get that. The tackle's looking in C. Sometimes we get the guard in B. Sometimes the guard's double reading. Sometimes the guard's helping the nose. That's why we say you B gap, stab it. Unless the guard's looking at you, then get into A. Right? You want to play fast with your feet, make it so they can play fast here. There it is. Nose, stabbing A gap away from the call Ringo. He knows he's there. Defensive end away from the call. Right? Cage at the quarterback's level. So we like to call this in situations where we're playing coverage, so the quarterback should have to hold the football, hit a check down. Okay? He should start scrambling around. You get inside pressure to force that. Your cage guys kick in. Now, they don't stay there. To answer that question, if the quarterback moves this way, our cage defender closes that cage. So as a point of reference, we say get roughly 2 yards from the quarterback. That's the cage. So you got roughly a 4 yard to 5 yard cage around the quarterback. So you're not far, 1 or 2 steps away. Okay? So that's what happens. Down here, right? Nothing changes. Outside cage. Stab B gap unless. Guard comes to you, which is highly likely when there's a 3 technique. You got to sell it first and then time up the move to cross into the A gap. You're already lined up in the A gap away from the call, so just stab that gap. You're in a 5 technique, speed rush and cage, right? Get to the level of the quarterback. And that is vice, and that's how we teach it. Okay? So, again, the beautiful part of vice, you can use it at any point in a football game. It might be one, if not the primary prisoner game, depending on the quarterback, all right, in and of itself. You don't have to always have penetrators and loopers to have an effective 4-man pass rush, and vice is an example of that. So as I said at the beginning, to my subscribers, I thank you, and non-subscribers, I'm hoping I tease you into pushing that button. How about a double, right? To everybody, please, questions, reach out to me, Coach MJ Sullivan at gmail.com. I want to thank you for watching MJS Coaching Football, and I want to thank YouTube for providing that platform.